Welcome back, decor lovers. If you're passionate about transforming small spaces sustainably, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into part 2 of decorating a tiny home without buying anything new. That's right, we're embracing thrifted treasures, upcycling magic, and creative styling to make every inch shine. Whether you're a minimalist, a vintage lover, or just budget savvy, these ideas will inspire you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. What's your favorite thrifted find? Let's get started. Decorating a tiny home doesn't require a big budget, just a keen eye for potential. Thrift stores, flea markets, and even garage sales are goldmines for unique decor. The key? Look beyond an item's current state. A chipped frame? Sand and paint it. An old ladder? Turn it into a bookshelf. By giving pre-loved pieces new life, you create a home full of character while reducing waste. Sustainability meets style. What's not to love? Listen, tiny homes need personality, and thrifted art is the perfect solution. Hunt for vintage paintings, prints, or even old postcards. Mix and match frames for an eclectic gallery wall, or repaint them for a cohesive look. Pro tip: lay frames on the floor first to arrange your layout before hanging. This way, you avoid unnecessary nail holes and create a balanced display that elevates your space without spending a dime. That dated wooden chair or scratched side table? A fresh coat of paint can make it a statement piece. Chalk paint works wonders for a matte, vintage feel, while bold colors add modern flair. Distressing edges with sandpaper adds rustic charm. The best part? You're not just saving money, you're crafting a one-of-a-kind piece that reflects your personal style. Who knew upcycling could feel so rewarding? Soft furnishings breathe life into tiny homes, and thrifted fabrics are a budget-friendly solution. Look for vintage scarves, tablecloths, or curtains to repurpose. A patterned scarf can become a throw pillow, while an old quilt transforms into a cozy wall hanging. Even mismatched fabrics can work. Embrace the eclectic. Layering textures adds depth, making your space feel curated and inviting without a trip to the home store. In a tiny home, every piece must earn its space. Thrifted furniture with hidden storage, like ottomans or trunks, is a game changer. An old dresser can double as a TV stand, while a vintage suitcase becomes a stylish side table. The trick? Think outside the box. Could that wooden crate be a nightstand? Could an old ladder hold blankets? Get creative. Functionality and charm go hand in hand. Thrifted mirrors are tiny home superheroes. They reflect light and create the illusion of space. Hunt for ornate frames or sleek mid-century styles. Place mirrors opposite windows to maximize natural light, or cluster small ones for a bold statement. A large mirror leaning against a wall can even act as a room divider. Best of all, they're often dirt cheap at thrift stores, making them a must-have for small space dwellers. Lighting sets the mood, and thrifted fixtures add instant character. Look for brass lamps, retro chandeliers, or even candle holders. Rewiring an old lamp is easier than you think. YouTube tutorials make it a breeze. Warm lighting makes a tiny home feel inviting, so mix floor lamps, string lights, and thrifted sconces for layered illumination. The right lighting turns a small space into a sanctuary. Books aren't just for reading, they're decor. Stack vintage hardcovers as risers for plants or lamps. Arrange them by color for a rainbow shelf, or display them spine-in for a neutral look. Thrift stores often sell books for pennies, so you can curate a collection that doubles as art. Plus, a tiny home library adds warmth and personality. Who needs a Kindle when books look this good? Plants purify the air and boost mood, but store-bought planters can be pricey. Instead, hunt for thrifted teacups, mugs, or ceramic bowls. Drill a drainage hole, carefully, and voila, a unique planter. Even old tin cans or glass jars work for a rustic vibe. Greenery thrives in unexpected containers, and your tiny home will feel like an urban jungle without the splurge. Open shelves maximize storage in tiny homes, and thrifted materials make them affordable. Wooden crates, old shutters, or even a repurposed drawer can become floating shelves. Sand them down, stain or paint, and mount securely. Style with thrifted decor, plants, and books for a functional yet aesthetic display. The best part? You built it yourself. Talk about a decor win. Window treatments frame a room, and thrifted curtains add instant polish. Look for linen, lace, or velvet drapes. Length doesn't matter, hemming is easy. Sheer curtains keep things airy, while bold patterns make a statement. No curtain rods? Try tension rods or even repurposed branches for a bohemian touch. Windows dressed in thrifted fabric make a tiny home feel intentional and cozy. Clutter is a tiny home's enemy, but thrifted baskets are the solution. Wicker, seagrass, or vintage suitcases hide toys, blankets, or pantry items while adding texture. Stack them as side tables or mount them on walls for vertical storage. The natural materials bring warmth, and the best part? They're everywhere in thrift stores, affordable, stylish, and oh so functional. Picture frames don't just hold art, they're decor on their own. Remove the glass, paint the frame, and use it as a tray, jewelry organizer, or even a memo board with chicken wire. Stack small frames for a 3D wall display, or turn a large one into a decorative mirror. The possibilities are endless when you see frames as blank canvases, not just for photos. Who says dishes belong only in cabinets? Thrifted plates, teacups, and bowls can be wall art. Hang them in a symmetrical grid or eclectic cluster. Vintage silverware becomes a wind chime, and a colander turns into a pendant light. Even mismatched mugs make charming planters. Your kitchen, no matter how tiny, becomes a curated exhibit of thrifted charm. tiny bedroom should feel like a sanctuary, and thrifted linens make it happen. Look for vintage quilts, embroidered sheets, or textured throws. Layering different patterns adds depth, while neutral tones keep things serene. Pro tip: wash in hot water with vinegar to freshen up secondhand fabrics. Your bed becomes a cozy, stylish focal point, no designer price tag needed. Doors and windows are architectural treasures in thrift stores. Lean a door against a wall as a room divider, or turn a window into a mirror frame. Small paned windows become photo displays with clips, while a salvaged barn door adds rustic charm. These pieces bring history and character into a tiny home, making it feel curated and unique. Vinyl isn't just for music lovers, it's art. Hang vintage records in a grid for a retro vibe, or paint them for a pop of color. Album covers can be framed, and a record player, thrifted, of course, becomes a decor centerpiece. Even if you don't collect vinyl, the nostalgic aesthetic adds personality to your tiny home. Thrifted yarn or old sweaters can be unraveled for DIY macrame, pom-poms, or woven wall hangings. No knitting skills? No problem, simple knots create boho chic decor. A handmade piece adds soul to your space, and the process is meditative. Plus, thrifted yarn is affordable, so you can experiment without guilt. Small thrifted finds like keys, drawer pulls, or vintage hooks become unexpected decor. Frame a collection of old keys, use knobs as coat hooks, or arrange hardware in shadow boxes. These tiny details add intrigue and tell a story, making your home feel layered and personal. Thrifted candlesticks in brass, ceramic, or glass add instant ambience. Cluster them on a tray, mix heights for drama, or repaint for a modern twist. Even without candles, they're sculptural decor. Dim lighting makes a tiny home feel intimate, perfect for cozy nights in. Old tools, like wooden rulers or metal scoops, become wall hooks or kitchen decor. A vintage rake holds jewelry, and a repurposed shovel becomes a shelf. Industrial meets rustic in the best way, functional, unique, and full of charm. privacy in a studio? Hang thrifted frames, without glass, from the ceiling with fishing line. Paint them uniformly or leave eclectic, either way, they create separation without blocking light. A stylish, budget-friendly alternative to bulky dividers. Transform thrifted items with chalk paint and stencils. A plain tray becomes a chic catch-all, and a dull dresser gets a floral motif. Stenciling is foolproof, just tape and dab. Custom decor, minus the custom price. Vintage toys, like tin cars or porcelain figurines, add playful nostalgia. Display them on shelves or in shadow boxes. Decor should spark joy, And what's more joyful than childhood treasures? And there you have it, 25 genius ways to decorate a tiny home with thrifted finds. Remember, great style isn't about spending, it's about creativity. I'd love to hear your thrifting wins. Drop a comment below. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button, subscribe for more decor hacks, and share your tiny home journey with me. Until next time, happy thrifting!